It's a Thursday. This is section 1904. Hope everybody had a great Wednesday. Hope everybody's going to have an even better Thursday. Don't know how it could be much better if you're a fan of SDFC. You know, many years ago I went on a trip to Cancun and I came across a couple of English gentlemen who were big-time football fans, soccer fans. One of them was a Fulham football fan, and he immediately took a liking to me because I was a U.S. soccer fan, and I mentioned that Clint Dempsey was one of my favorite players. Clint Dempsey played for Fulham, and he shared with me one of his favorite chants about Clint Dempsey. Clint Dempsey, he scores with his left, he scores with his right. Our boy Clint Dempsey makes Drogba look like shite. I always remember that quote, and I'm wondering if there's a version that we can incorporate about our boy Iloski after that performance Wednesday night at BC Place in Vancouver. SDFC 5, Vancouver Whitecaps 3. Our boy Iloski makes Messi look... I don't know. I don't know where this is going, John, but just something...
out of your mouth, Darren. Messi hate.
Just something to think about for the rest of the day, because now I have that stuck in my head after this 4-goal performance from Milan Iloski. I have that stuck in my head, and now hopefully everybody else will have that stuck in their head. Good Thursday to you. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm fighting off a little bit of a cold, but it was a great night. It was an exciting night. My wife was out, so I was watching this game mostly alone, and she walked in with about 10 minutes left to go, right before Iloski got taken off, and she was like, wow, like, looks like SDFC is going to win. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I was like, there's a guy making his first ever MLS start. He scored 4 goals. And she was like, what? And she sat down, and then they pulled him. But just an amazing night for him, for SDFC. And Rebecca actually did turn to me, and she was like, did anyone call this? Did anyone see this coming? And I was like, well, I didn't call it. I didn't see it coming, but I have been saying for a while now I can't wait for him to get his first start. So I'm going to take a little bit of credit.
Of course you are. That's your move, man. You love taking credit for things. I know. I've been around you long enough over the years to know that you'll always jump in and take a little bit of credit here.
If I can.
I did have a funny moment, by the way, with Anders Dreyer. We have a lot to get to. Some of the All-Star stuff, I don't want to lose sight of that. We will get into some Padres here today. Not that I had a ton of exposure to the Padres. On Wednesday, I was pretty much shut down on SDFC duty, so watched a lot of Vancouver Whitecaps games, watched some of their recaps, did a little bit of research. Had a marathon radio. I felt like I was working back for corporate radio again. I got on the radio at 6 o'clock. I didn't get off till 10:15. So, we'll get into some of that. But I didn't have a ton of exposure. I saw that the Padres won the series, which is good, which I think is good, which I think absolutely proves that the Padres did win the trade. I don't know. But, the All-Star stuff, where I'm going is we also posted a couple of interviews that I had that were embargoed, everybody. Now we can let you in a little bit. These were embargoed with 2/3 of the All-Star representation for SDFC. One of them being Anders Dreyer and English not being his first language. Having grown up in Denmark, he did have a funny moment where he was, the phrase that we always use, John, that I will apply to you in this one. You pat yourself on the back or take, there's all sorts of different ways that you can say, essentially you're congratulating yourself. Take a victory lap, pat yourself on the back. When I was talking to him, he's a very funny guy. I was talking about him, and this whole experience, taking a chance, betting on himself, coming over here at a time in his career where, I'm sure he had voices telling him that this was a pretty big risk that he might not want to take. But he goes, yeah, so do I want to? And he started taking his hand and do I want to clap myself on the shoulder? I just was like, I know what you meant, my guy. I know what you meant. And if you listen, these interviews are available. They're free. They're unlocked. So anybody that's listening to the preview of the Thursday podcast, you can go find these interviews. Section1904.com. We've also tweeted them out. So we played them on the pregame show, on the kickoff show last night. But just to get a little bit more run, if people weren't with us at 7 o'clock on 760 or the iHeart app, there you go. But I did like that. He clapped himself on the shoulder. That's what John did. But I don't know what to say. I mean, I just don't know what to say. This is the first time that we've seen Milan Iloski start an MLS game. And I say it that way for purpose because we did see him start a game against Club America. And as much as you could say, well, what did this game, what was the point? What's going on here? And you go, well, I don't know. 31,000 people seem to show up and have a good time. And, it was an opportunity for guys to do things that they don't normally get a chance to do. And that included Milan Iloski, who started in that match, who scored twice. And that was the first time we have seen him not used as he has been used through 11 games with his SDFC career, which is mostly coming on sometime second half, 70th minute, 75th minute. All of his goals, as a matter of fact, I have, before yesterday came in the 75th, 79th, 87th, 92nd minute. Those were when the 5 goals were scored before last night. Had a hat trick in the first half, 35th minute, 37th minute, 44th minute, and then a 4th goal in the second half, 2 minutes into the second half in the 47th minute. 3 more assists for Anders Dreyer, by the way. I mean, the assists are unreal when you go back and watch them again, as I did this morning. Obviously, this is Milan Iloski's day, and that the official watch party was at Tony Pepperoni's Pizzeria in Escondido last night, where the whole Iloski family had gathered to celebrate with a bunch of SDFC fans, feels very, very appropriate. What an unbelievable performance from Milan Iloski, who did score with his left, who did score with his right, who also did add in a header. I mean, it is an incredible, he is now leading SDFC in goals scored with 9, and he's amongst the MLS leaders, having only played 300 minutes. His first ever start, his first ever first half minutes, John. Obviously, I could just carry on about this for a really, really long time, but suffice to say, this is as memorable a performance as we have had through 19 games of SDFC's history. I mean, a 4-goal performance has been done 20 times in Major League Soccer history, 3 times this season, Milan Iloski being the very latest to do it. It's not like he doesn't know how to score goals. He was a Golden Boot winner in the USL with Orange County Soccer Club, but this is a level up. I don't think it's as dramatic as people make it out to be, but my God, like he was incredible. They were incredible, shorthanded on a really truly hallmark kind of day between the All-Star selections and then the performance at Vancouver. I know there's a little bittersweetness to it because of Alejandro Alvarado, which really bums me out. But man, what an unbelievable day for SDFC.
Yeah, I don't remember. You used a word talking about Chucky like a month or two ago when Chucky had his best game. I don't know if it was I don't know if he had a brace or if it was the game where he scored the goal in stoppage time to beat LA. But you used a word that basically meant like Chucky took over the game. It was his game. Like
bossed it. He started bossing the game.
He bossed the game. I had that in my head of like Milan Iloski in his first ever MLS start is bossing this game. And it's funny, I'm going to clap myself on the shoulder again here, Darren, because in our Discord, which was very active last night, especially the San Diego FC channel, but also the Padres channel during that game, after his second goal, I saw Iloski, like the first time he touched the ball after scoring his second goal, make a very aggressive move towards the goal to try and score again. And I was like, oh, he wants 3. Like, he really wants 3. And I said on the Discord, I was like, I think Iloski wants the hat trick. And then like 30 seconds later, he gets hit in the throat. He goes down. Everyone's going, I hope he can stay in. I hope he's okay. Like it looked for a second like he was going to come out. Like it seemed like he was having a hard time swallowing maybe. And he got up and then like a minute later, he scores his 3rd goal. And I'm like, holy crap. He did. He wanted the 3. And then I thought he would let his foot off the gas. And he didn't. He wanted a 4th. And until they pulled him off the field, he wanted a 5th. Like the hunger that he showed. Like you got to imagine like he's always dreamed about, maybe his dreams are bigger than this, but he's probably always dreamed at least a little bit about playing for an MLS team for his hometown San Diego club and scoring a couple goals. And you feel like once you get there, you're like, okay, now we're just going to protect this lead and I'm going to have my brace and whatever. No, he wanted more. Like if Iloski could have scored 10 goals last night, he would have given everything in his power to get there. And that was not the most impressive part. The most impressive part was the goals. But that was a very impressive thing, like how the hunger never really seemed to leave him. He just wanted more and more, and his effort level never dropped.
No, it didn't. And he does have, I think that's one of the things too that, and I'm sure that Mikey and the coaching staff, that everybody sees this sort of stuff in training. It's just that, we haven't had a ton of access to it, which is his work rate, his pace. He's got so many things. Because, you're like, okay, he's just a classic goal scorer, right? He's a guy who always finds himself in the right place, right time, knows where the ball is going to be. Teammates know how to find him. He's a big target, all that sort of stuff. He can shoot with his left, obviously. He can shoot with his right. He can do a little bit of everything, right? And you sort of think, okay, he's that kind of player. But to see some of the stuff that you saw in the Club America match again, even if you say, well, hold on, this is just a friendly. But even some of the stuff you saw in the second half against Minnesota United, I'm like, he is running past defenders. He is running past some of these MLS defenders, as if they are standing still. And this is part of what made him such a lethal goal scorer in the USL with Orange County when he was a Golden Boot winner back in 2022. He had 22 goals there. So you're like, this is a guy, that you could say, well, he's on a different level than these guys, right? And so sure enough, he gets rewarded, gets picked up by Nordsjælland, goes off to Denmark, off he plays. And who really knows what happens if Marcus Ingvardsson does not get hurt? Who really knows if that doesn't happen at halftime against the Columbus Crew, whether Milan Iloski ends up staying in Denmark or whether it was still part of the plan to get him at some point. I asked him that actually when he first got here. I said, I felt like it was always a question of when, not a question of if. And he disagreed. He was like, no, I didn't sign with Nordsjælland thinking that I would eventually come back to SDFC. Let me just explain this for people that might not know. SDFC does have a partnership with a Danish club called FC Nordsjælland. That is where Jeppe Tverskov comes from. That is where Marcus Ingvardsson comes from. And that is where most recently where Milan Iloski was playing. He's here officially on loan with SDFC. So I said, I felt like it was a matter of when, not if. He's like, no, I don't know about that. So, I believe him. I believe him when he says that he had decided he was going to move to Europe. And it wasn't just a pathway back to Southern California, but he thought, I'm gonna go play. And then the situation pops up and he comes here. And Tyler Heaps even said that. He's like, the timing of the injury made it. We needed somebody. And we bring in Milan Iloski. And I mean, my God, he's got 9 goals. And, you're right. I thought he had a chance at a 5th. But instead, he passed the ball back to Anders Dreyer late in the second half of that game. And the pass just got tipped a little bit by one of the Whitecaps defenders. Otherwise, it might have been another goal for SDFC, which I think at the time would have been their 5th. But an unreal story for him and just an unreal story for the club to go into a place. You're talking about an all-star on the other side of the field, by the way, in goal for Whitecaps that just got announced earlier in the day in Yohei Takaoka, who just got announced as a goalkeeper for the MLS side. And credit to him. And this is the first Japanese-born all-star, MLS all-star ever. That's pretty significant. But here's a guy and a team that hadn't allowed more than 3 goals in any match. They had only allowed 3 goals in one match this year. That was a match against Chicago. It had a leading 14 goals allowed. Hard to get shots against this team. They lead the league in shots allowed. They lead the league in allowing the fewest shots on target. Only 14 goals. And they put 5 past them last night. Like, that is... For say what you want about who's there, who's not there. Everybody's dealing with something. I mean, they started a couple of teenagers in Vancouver. Guess what? Mikey's been starting teenagers for weeks. So I don't know that there is a huge advantage either way when it comes to the international call-ups or some of the injuries, especially as the match unfolded. We had an interview with Mikey where he said, I don't have enough players to even practice 11 on 11 right now because they don't have an academy like Vancouver does. Yeah. So they don't even literally have the players, John, to be training 11 on 11 based on the circumstances, and that they were without 6 different players due to injury last night. 7 if you want to throw Chucky into that mix, just because he wasn't on the injury report. They weren't going to play him. So they're without 7 players due to injury, 2 more due to international duty. You're playing away, you're playing on the road. Nobody wants to hear about what Vancouver doesn't have. It's part of the story for sure. But to go up there and put 5 past that goalkeeper and 5 on that team is a motherfucking statement and a half.
Yeah, I mean that's probably the best game in the history of SDFC. Like, this is why it's been so fun watching this team in their inaugural season. Is you get them building history, right? The next time someone scores 3 goals in a game for SDFC, it's going to be like, well, can he get 4 and match Milan Iloski's team record? And we're all going to remember this game. And that was so cool. I thought the team as a whole played really well. I was switching back and forth between the radio broadcast and the TV broadcast, and I heard the TV broadcast say that same thing about they're so injured that Mikey Veras was telling us he hasn't been able to practice 11 on 11 in weeks. And I was like, first of all, it's worth saying, even with the players missing, that Vancouver team is really good.
Yeah.
Like, it was obvious from the beginning that team is really good, and it never really stopped being obvious that team's really good. What SDFC proved is that they're just as good. And if everyone was healthy and there was no international break and teams out on international duty or whatever, I don't know that Iloski's getting the start. I don't know that he's playing in this game. And so this was just like a magical moment where a bunch of different things came together. And to your point, like I was kind of wondering why Dreyer and Yeppe were just like feeding Iloski. Like anytime he was near the goal, they were kicking it right at him. And in my head, I was like, they've probably seen him in training. They know how good he is. They know that this is his moment. But I think you're right that more of it is just he has the versatility to do kick it with his left, kick it with his right, kick it with his head. So you put the ball anywhere near him and he can get it into the back of the net. Whether or not he will is not guaranteed, but he can. And he's such a big target and he's athletic as a big target and he's fast as a big target. And you could see them getting the ball just going like, I'm just going to get it over there towards him and he'll do something with it. And I actually thought like one of the things that really made SDFC's offense work last night was when they saw the back line of Vancouver creeping up, they would fire a long ball downfield. In my head, I had you doing Warren's your Warren impersonation, just boot it out of there. But I was like, they were firing it downfield when anytime Vancouver's defense like shrunk up or moved up a little bit. And Iloski was perfect for that, even better than Chucky is on receiving some of those long balls because he's so big and he's so fast and he's so athletic. And he just seemed to be playing, when you come in at the 70th minute, like you're always the guy who's playing with more energy than everyone else on the field. But it felt like the whole game he was kind of playing with more energy than anyone else. And then when he went off and Tommy Angel came in, I was like, oh, Tommy's playing at an even faster speed. Look at this. And then he got the 5th goal, right?
Yeah, he ended up doing that. That was his first goal, by the way, since April 12th against Colorado Rapids. So good on Tomas Angel, who, again, he's another guy who I know wants to be out there more. There's all these guys want to be out there more. And sometimes the situation, Mikey's the coach. He's got to make some of these decisions. I mean, it's really easy to do what we do, which is sit here and be like, well, this guy should play and this guy should start and you should do this. The other thing that happened in this match that was so interesting tactically, and not to get too far into the weeds on this because I never feel truly comfortable talking about tactics, is especially after Alvarado cuts hurt, which was just a tough thing to watch. And should the referee have stopped it? I don't know.
I'm with Mikey on that. Like it was unfair to let it continue. But the announcers were like, they only need to stop it if it's a head injury. But
there is discretion there, though. There is some discretion there that if it is a serious injury, that the referee can stop the match. The referee chose not to stop the match.
And I thought it was real bullshit for them to score a goal with Alvarado, laying down at midfield, like literally crying out in pain. It's like, I don't know, man. Like that's one of those situations. I know you're down. I know you're trying to win, but like the classy thing to do is maybe kick it out of bounds and whatever.
I mean, maybe if you're not down 4-1, you do.
And maybe if you're not down 4-1, you do.
But I'm on the fence on that one. I'm on the fence, and I think I'm really, really partial towards that player in particular. Yeah. Only because I had a chance to interview him this week, and I can't say it enough how much he has improved from where we were in the beginning of the season to where we are this week as a person and as a player. And I really like him, So I do feel I feel personally just because again. We had a great chat earlier this week on and off the air that I just was really gutted for the guy. So hopefully this is something that isn't as serious as it appeared to be. And we'll wait for official designation, which I'm sure will be lower body just because that's the way it goes. But God, it just was brutal. And again, I'm on the fence. I mean, I understand, if a guy's lying and, the other team might be like, hey, we're down 3 goals here. Yeah. We're not so sure. We didn't know that he was going to get carted off. We're still playing. Well, maybe the referee has a little discretion. It's right there on the fence. But that being said, the tactical thing I was just going to mention is when Alvarado comes off, now all of a sudden it's like, well, what do you do? What are you going to do in this situation? And, the way SDFC plays, it's a 4-3-3. So I'll explain that real quick. So, you start from the position closest to goal. 4 defenders, that's the 4. 3 midfielders, and then 3 forwards. That's the way they play. So, the 4 defenders last night, Bombino, Pilcher, McVeigh, Verhoeven. In the midfield, it was Valakari, Yeppe, Alvarado. And up top to start the match, it was Alex Mighton, Iloski, and Anders Dreyer. So Alvarado has to come off hurt. SDFC now is kind of thinking we got to protect. We've got to protect. We've scored 4. Probably unlikely we're going to get a 5th, even though they ended up doing that in the 90th minute. But they moved Iloski and Dreyer, 2 starting forwards, into the midfield. They bring on Ima Boateng, and they bring on Tomas Angel to play forward. So they're essentially changing their shape in the second half from a 4-3-3 to a 4-4-2.
Yep.
They move Valakari from the left over to the right. Dreyer's sort of playing, it's a little diamond shape here. Dreyer's playing up top. Yeppe's playing the controlling mid. And over on the left side is kind of where Iloski's playing. He's kind of drifting around a little bit.
Yeah.
And you're playing Boateng, if I have this right, Boateng and Tomas Angel up top, Boateng on the left, Angel on the right. And it's all hands on deck. I mean, that's the point. The point is, here are these guys, these dynamos. Milan Iloski, who scored 4 goals in this match. Anders Dreyer, who has a hat trick of assists, and who now has, 12 assists, I think, on the season? Something like that.
That's right.
11 or 12, depending on which website you look. And it's like, hey, guys, need you in the midfield.
Yeah.
And they do it. And not only did they do it, but, they were rather effective at doing it. So, just to be able to switch tactically and have these guys be able to go and do things differently than what it was that they were asked to do in this match, but knowing that they might be called upon to do such a thing, I thought was another really great element of the match, just in terms of how prepared these guys were for circumstances that nobody could have predicted.
Yeah, that was when that happened. I was back on the TV broadcast, and that's the point where they haven't been able to practice 11 on 11. They're so injured. They explained, as you did, that they were literally changing the shape of the team, and that Iloski and Dreyer were moving to the midfield. And the main commentator, whoever he was cracking me up all night. He explained all this, and he was like, "They're so versatile." He's like, their guys can move to like any position on the field. And he's like, and they never slow down. They never stop. It never seems to hurt them. He's like, I don't know how they do this without being able to practice 11 on 11. He also, this is the reason he was cracking me up, was when they were showing the replay of one of the assists that Dreyer had to Iloski, the guy said, Dreyer's just playing out of his skin. And he goes, what a ball that is. And then I don't remember if it was the first Iloski goal or I think it was the first shot he took, which was blocked and did not get into the net. Just an incredible pass from Yeppe. Yeppe is like next to the goal, to the right, like on the line, and he just like launches this over like 8 different people, finds Iloski in the back. Iloski catches it on his right foot and fires it in. And the guy and the same guy was like, that's an insane pass. It's an insane pass to make, and the fact that they did it was incredible. It's like they're playing so well. This is probably the best football they've played all season, when everyone is expecting them to slow down or give in to the injuries that are affecting them, or to be figured out in some way, and they're just getting better and better. And it seems like when you compare them month to month and you like look back, it's like every month they get a little younger and a little better, and that doesn't make sense. It's not how that's supposed to work.
Yeah, some of the passing last night was unreal. I'm not a big believer in the second assist, but I will say on the goal in the 47th minute in the second half, and this is, I went back and just tried to look at them real quick this morning before you and I started recording. The first one is, Iloski has it, he shoots, it's saved, he chases down the rebound, he puts it in with his left foot, and it's just, he's a right-footed player. And he does that with his left foot.
He did get lucky. He got lucky that bounced right back to him, though. Or close to him, yeah.
Yeah. But, credit to him. He put himself in a position to be lucky.
He was
right.
Ready.
He didn't stop. He didn't
ready.
stop running. He chased the ball. And, he didn't just take a shot and wait and see if it went in against a really good goalkeeper. He was there and he was ready to pounce. So, put yourself in a position to be lucky, which is good advice. That's his first with his left. I think I turned to Adrian at that point, and I was like, I might have this wrong. Maybe he's not a right-footed player. Maybe he's a left-footed player. I don't know. And then, 37th minute, sort of that 2-on-1, and, Dreyer, gets tangled up with his defender, and the defender goes down, and he gets it to Iloski, and Iloski shoots it near post. He tricks. He really did trick Takaoka there, thinking that he was going to go far post, gets it near post. 44th minute was the header. That was the brilliant cross. But that last one starts with Yepe, just outside of the defensive 18-yard box, where he turns and he fires a through ball and finds Dreyer. And Dreyer gets it right at the center circle there. He gets it right at the circle. He takes 3 touches, and he threads a pass that I thought Alex Mighton was going to interrupt. And Mighton, and I don't know that I would have blamed Mighton because he's dying to get on the action here too. But Mighton and Iloski are 2v2 with their 2 defenders. And Mighton jumps over the ball, and it goes under him, and Iloski outruns the defenders, and he gets it, and he slots it home for the 4th. And that one, when you look at how quick it happened, Yepe, outside of his defensive 18, boom, finds Anders, 3 touches, threads a pass beautifully. Mighton jumps over it. Defenders kind of get confused. What's going to happen here? Iloski running on the outside, picks it up, 1 touch, shot, 4th goal of the night. History made. And John, you make a great point that you said earlier. I mean, it stands to reason that this is a record that we're just, I don't know. It's impossible to predict that this will ever be broken. That Milan Iloski's 4-goal will ever be broken.
It might stand for a very, very long time. I had 2 quick questions for you. One, was Mighton also ready to score the header if Iloski didn't get in his way?
He was right there, wasn't he?
I think he was.
He was right there. He put his hand on his head. I don't know if he's like, whoa, I can't believe Milan just did that. Or,
I think so.
That was mine.
It did kind of look like it was his, and Iloski came like streaking through out of nowhere, like Superman dive headed.
Hey, man, that guy's on a heater. You just get the ball to him. Whatever it is, just get the ball to Milan Iloski.
You take the win. My other question for you is, if you were a Vancouver fan, put yourself in those shoes for a minute. You described it as Dreyer got tangled up with someone. Would you have been pissed off about that? Because there was a little push from Dreyer. Dreyer got on that guy's back and kind of pushed him down a little bit.
There was a little delay on the restart, and I was wondering if they were taking a peek at that to see if it could be called. But I wouldn't like that. That is re-refereeing to me. That is not what I'm looking for with video review. Could it have been called? I guess after looking at it a time or two, I suppose, but. It did look mostly like it was a defender who was trying to backpedal here, who probably was tripping himself up anyway, and Anders just helped him. So he just helped him get down to the ground. So the one thing I am trying to find here today is there's a couple of different services that everybody who follows the sport uses where they give out player ratings. There's one website, and I guess this is like an AI thing. I'm not entirely sure. But there's a site called FOTMob. I don't know. I guess that's how you say it out loud. FOTMOB. And they have given Milan Iloski a 9.9 rating out of 10. 9.9 out of 10. They've given Anders Dreyer a 9.4. I have another service that I use, and it's called SofaScore. This is an app on my phone, and they have given Milan Iloski a 10. I don't know if the official rating service of record, L'Equipe, in France, I don't know that they rate MLS games. It might be a little bit beneath the French rating service. But I would like to find a little more information and find out like where player ratings come from and how often does somebody get a 9.9? How often does somebody get a 10? I don't know what more he could have done to get a 10 from FOTMob, but I think a 9.9 or a 10 according to some services is probably pretty good. That's a pretty good night.
Hey, do you think the reason that Iloski was pulled was because Mikey already decided he's starting on Saturday?
No, I mean, it came so late in the game. I think that was about time wasting, to be honest.
Yeah.
I just think that was about, hey, we just need to kill a couple more seconds here because, we're trying to see the game through. Because when did that happen? I mean, that happened very, very late in the game. Let's see. I have it in front of me here. If you give me a second.
Minute?
He came off in the 89th. So, yeah.
89th.
Yeah, that had nothing to do with it. I think it just was, we're just trying to, I mean, if you notice, every throw in took way longer than it normally does.
Dreyer took forever on a corner. It was hilarious.
I know. I even said it. I said, let's start the clock now. I mean, it's whatever the minute was, 70 and 11. And I don't think they made the corner kick until like 45. So, that's part of the game. You got to see the game out. You got to, that's how you finish games off is, you take your time on goal kicks and you take your time on throw-ins and you take your time on corner kicks. And they did all that sort of stuff. They're a well-coached team. There's nothing else you could say.
The bummer is, and just to bring it back to a thing we mentioned a couple minutes ago, Alex Mighton had 2 shots at a goal, and both times it kind of ended up with Iloski scoring. And I think come Saturday, assuming everyone's healthy and no one needs rest after that, and maybe they do, right? They traveled to Vancouver, now they got to travel to Dallas, and I don't know if they're coming back to San Diego in between. I imagine so. So maybe there's more opportunity, but if you were to look at like where is Chucky playing on Saturday, assuming he starts, I think he takes Mighton's spot, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I would say so.
And that's and if Mighton had gotten those 2 goals, maybe that's not the case. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, unless he's on some sort of minutes restriction where you're going to use him, like when he first came back, what was it against? Was it against LAFC? I don't remember exactly which one he came back after he got hurt the first time.
Didn't he play the second half?
Yeah, he came on and he got about 20 minutes in, and that was a plan. That was by design.
Yeah, that could be again.
So it could be. I know it was considered a less serious injury, even though it was the same hamstring. It was a different part of the hamstring. So I don't know exactly what the plan is. We weren't given that info. But unless it's that, yeah, he's going to start on the left for Mighton, I think, for sure. And it's welcome to get him back. It is welcome to get him back. Good for him also for making the All-Star game. He was the commissioner selection. I think that makes a lot of sense. 3 players make it: Anders Dreyer, Jeppe Tverskov, and Chucky. And I think, as we said yesterday on the podcast, this is a league that really has wanted Chucky to be here for a long time, and that they're playing against Liga MX's All-Stars adds a little bit of juice north and south of the border to the All-Star game. I don't know how much juice there is for an MLS All-Star game. I look at it from a human standpoint. I think that not only are the players being recognized, there's 26 players on this roster. And SDFC has 3 of them, an expansion team. Really? That's kind of bonkers.
Yeah.
And it's also part of the conversation I had with Anders and with Jeppe. These guys had nothing going on in the U.S. Jeppe, I don't think had ever been to the United States. I'm not sure if Anders had either. And these are guys that took a chance with their careers. And Jeppe's a little bit older, so maybe he's at a point where he's like, hey, 32, I've played my whole life in Denmark. Why not see if there's something else out there? When am I going to get this chance at this point? What do I want to do? Do I ever want to get out of Denmark? Maybe that was a little bit, not in a negative way, just in a, why not? Let's see what else is out there. But for Dreyer, he's a guy that was playing on a Europa League club as recently as December, playing in Europa League matches. And at a time in his career where I'm sure, and we touched on this in the interview, where I'm sure he had some people in his ear telling him, are you sure, mate? Are you sure you want to go to MLS? Are you sure this is a good idea for you in your career right now?
Not just that. MLS expansion team.
Yeah, are you sure this is a good idea? Like, you want to get back with the national team? Are you sure that this is really the best way to do it? And he's back with the national team. And he's an MLS All-Star. And he's on a really good fucking team. And he's leading the league in assists. And, as I said to him, literally, as somebody with a little bit of experience, not as dramatic as him, but who took a chance on a startup radio station back in 2003 as a producer who was ready to quit after 6 months, fortune does favor the bold. And sometimes you bet on yourself, and if you really trust your own instincts, it leads you to a place where you can have this kind of success. And I think it's great, just not as a local sports story, but as a human story about a guy who, and he admitted it to me, not in so many words, but I did say, I'm sure not everybody was on board with the decision. And when I was doing the interview, he kind of raised his eyebrows. He was like, yeah, and he's like, yeah, I said, I want to get back with the national team. These guys didn't come here wanting to be all-stars because they didn't even know what an all-star game was.
Right.
It's such a uniquely American thing. But they said, he said to Talib, I want to be back with the national team. I really want to be in a place where I think, my skills will be showcased. And it's really worked out for him. And I don't know how you couldn't be happy for those guys, not only to represent on the field and the way they perform, but just also moving across the world. How many of you have just packed up and said, off I go. I'm just going to move halfway across the world to take a chance on an MLS expansion club and get rewarded as these guys have over the last 4 or 5 months. It's amazing.
Yeah, you don't realize it's hard to put yourself in those shoes because so many of us just kind of stay in the same area for so long. But moving moving from one city to another is hard enough. Like you get there and you're like, I got to find new doctors. I got to find a new dentist. I got to find stuff for my kids, my family. I don't have any friends. I don't have any family here that I can lean on or support. Like it's very, very isolating. There's so much you have to take care of just to get to a point where you can live a normal life, same as you did on the other side of the world. And to do all that for an expansion MLS team is, that was a big risk. And now they're first in the Western Conference, which is insane. And I think they're already I'm not going to say they're already the greatest expansion team in MLS history, but they're on their way.
They are. The expansion record for most wins in a season is 17, and this is a team that has 11 through
19 games?
19?
I think it was 18 yesterday, so 19 today.
Yeah, they're a game up, and it should be pointed out, Vancouver does have a game in hand here. So, one win and they could jump ahead.
Right.
On level amounts. But, let's just enjoy being top of the table for an hour. Can we?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And then the same thing goes for Chucky, because there was lots of chatter out there, especially amongst people in North American soccer media, that said, well, this is the end of Chucky's career. And it's kind of sad. And those are not my words. Those are words that were used by people that I like a lot, people that have been guests on my show. And they would say things like, yeah, it's kind of sad that this is the end of Chucky's career. Except guess what? Like, he's now back on Mexico's radar. Hopefully, health permitting, he can go back and he could play for Mexico. And he could play next summer in the World Cup. That would be a great thing because I'm sure he's expressed that. But a lot of people think, hey, this is the death knell for your career. If you're going to go play in MLS, it's not just because of the quality. It's also because of the politics. And there's a ton of politics going on between Mexico and the U.S. And I don't just mean borders and Trump and all that.
Yeah.
I mean in terms of the actual football of if you're not going to play in our league, you're playing for our competition, man, we're going to punish you. And you're not going to be allowed to play for our national team because a lot of those power brokers that run the clubs also run the national team. Anyway. Different podcast. But, credit to him as well, because it seemed like it was going pretty well at PSV. Good team. Won the Eredivisie this year. So, it seemed like things were going pretty well for him. He took a chance, too. It just felt like it was always inevitable that at some point Chucky was going to play in Major League Soccer. It was just a matter of when he was going to do it. So, I still think he deserves a lot of credit, and he has also been rewarded here. And he now gets to represent San Diego at the MLS All-Star Game and wear those wonderful jerseys, John, that you love so much that are floating around on Instagram. I love Adidas. A lot of my clothing is Adidas. Oh man, but sometimes, man, when they don't put in any effort, it's just like, what are we doing?
It's very boring.
It is just a white shirt. What are we doing?
It's not bad. Like it's not bad. It's not like I'm horrified.
I know.
By it. It's just real boring.
Doesn't make me want to go spend $150 on it.
No.
I mean, I have a closet full of Adidas soccer jerseys. And that won't be added to the wardrobe. Anyway, I could ramble on about this for a really long time. But as I said, Yepe and Anders, their interviews, con permiso, mi español es basura. So I didn't get a chance to chat with Chucky, but and sorry for a little sleight of hand there. I didn't exactly lie to anybody, but there are certain things you got to embargo. And like I said, I thought everybody would be pretty happy with getting 3 out of 26 on that roster. Is just it's something that is really a testament to the scouting, and it's really a testament to the coaching and to the players, obviously, themselves. So we can move on because this is a lot of SDFC talk, I'm sure.
It is. I'll end it with this. When you're a first-place team, you usually get a lot of players on the All-Star squad. And B, when you put your organization in the hands of a Saintsman, only good things are going to happen.
Okay, there you go. Well, I wasn't sure going back to politics. I was like, well, maybe they would be like, hey, Yepe deserves it, but, he just got here. There's other guys that have been around the league that have been snubbed, and maybe it's this guy's time or that guy's time. So, a Saintsman. What am I missing here? I feel like I'm missing that reference.
Tyler Heaps? Didn't he go to Saints? Didn't you say yesterday that he was a Saintsman? Or no, I was mixing him up with Alex Morgan's husband.
Yeah, Alex Morgan's husband, I should wife.
Yeah,
Alex
husband.
He went to Saints.
Oh, that's my mistake. I thought you were referencing Tyler Heaps yesterday, and I was like, oh, Tyler Heaps went to Saints too? All right, just scratch that joke.
Okay. I'm
Still
sitting
true,
here
though.
going, I
Still
feel like
true.
I'm missing it, but it's early in the morning, and I had a very late night for me. I'm not getting to bed till like 1 o'clock because all the adrenaline, but... anyhow, I said, I know this is a lot of soccer. So
no, it is, and we'll move
but
on
I think
to
deserving because I see a lot of people that aren't normally into soccer who are like, this is really a lot of fun, and this feels like a good representation of San Diego.
I felt like if last night's game, taking over first place in the West, and Iloski scored 4 goals. Like, I know this is silly, but I think if that was a home game, it would have felt like an earthquake in San Diego. And it still feels like a really, really important. It feels like a more important moment than the Padres beating the Nationals, and lineup changes and all that. Like, it felt like a historic moment for a real team, from a kid from Escondido. I know we make fun of that sometimes, but that's real. That matters. And I'm sure Tony Pepperoni's pizza was hopping last night.
By the way, Tony Pepperoni's pizza. I actually jotted this down because I thought it was funny, and I worked it into the broadcast a lot. They had every time there was a goal scored, for some period of time, John, they offered half off pitchers of beer. Milan Iloski might have put that place out of business last night, and he's an Escondido guy. So Milan Iloski was taking care of the Escondido peeps, the Hidden Valley peeps. There you go. That was all Milan Iloski last night. I hope people really took advantage of those specials.
Well, I'm unable to go to our usual Mason Ale Works tomorrow and drink a beer and eat a taco while we do a podcast. So maybe sometime this weekend I'll jaunt over to East County and go to Tony Pepperoni's and buy a full price pitcher of beer just for thanking them for whatever good juju they put out there.
God, I love a good pitcher of beer. It's been forever since I ordered a pitcher of beer. I always think like pitcher of beer, outdoors, nice. Like hot sunny day.
It's been years for me.
Yeah, like eating some oysters or some mussels, something like that. Yeah. Oh man, like a good, like nice, the pitcher of beer has been sitting inside of the cooler for a while. Condensation on it, a little bit of foam coming down the side.
Hey, wait, speaking of this, I saw a funny thing this morning. You remember when we interviewed Jake Fisher on Monday? And we asked him where he went in Spain, and he started off with like, "Oh, well, I was in Barcelona," and you went, "Oh." And Jake was like, is that a good or a bad There was someone who commented on that episode on Spotify, and he's like, well, now I know what Darren sounds like when he orgasms.
Yes. And it happens when I think about Barcelona. That is often what I think about during intercourse. All right, Padres win the series and win the trade, obviously. And I think those things work hand in glove with one another. Again, I had no exposure to this, but I've read some of the, to quote Kevin Acey, some of the gobbledygook about switching the lineup around. 1-0 yesterday, and of course, to end the game, C.J. Abrams, that stiff, struck out, and James Wood couldn't get anything going. So, these guys don't have the clutch gene. Mackenzie Gore took a loss. And obviously, it was a great series for the Padres, who I did not see if they trolled the Washington Nationals back in return for what it was that happened after game 1 of the series. I guess it doesn't really matter. Social media, I hate to sound like I want to be promotional of anything about it whatsoever. That being said, John, taking 2 out of 3 against the Nationals and finishing this stretch of 26 and 27 days, I think it was. 26 games, 27 days. 13-13 seems to be celebrated around San Diego. So, all right, hip, hip, hooray.
It's not nothing. Okay, couple questions for you. First, a very, very quick look at the box score. C.J. Abrams, 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts. James Wood, 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts. Josh Bell, who I'm throwing in here because he was part of the trade in some way, shape, or form, was a pinch hitter, 0 for 1 with a strikeout. Nick Pivetta outpitched Mackenzie Gore in terms of like raw numbers, right? Gore went 6 innings. He gave up a run. Pivetta went 7 innings. He gave up no runs, 3 hits, 10 strikeouts, no walks. Pivetta was awesome. Pivetta's 8-2. This is, I want to ask you this question because I know that if I mention on Blue Sky a pitcher's win-loss record, I get roasted. But you talk to baseball guys. Like, do pitcher records really, do they still matter to those guys? Does it matter that Pivetta's 8-2?
I think so. I think it matters to him. Now he's got a deal, but yeah, and maybe the players' approach to this has evolved since I've been hanging around clubhouses with those kind of relationships. But I can remember walking out of the clubhouse with guys and guys that pitch really well, and it's like, yeah, hell of a way to lose my 10th game. So I do think that anytime that you have any number attached to your name, I think for guys that are very prideful, even if they understand the big picture concept about statistics and why this stat has faded in terms of relevance, not to bring this back to soccer, but I did talk about it yesterday, that these are 2 goalkeepers that both had 10 wins. Anyway, probably not a perfect stat, but yeah, I think they're very prideful about that. I think they do. I think they do want to go out and win 20 games. I don't think it's the most important thing, but let's not be completely dismissive of it either. Can you use it Does it get brought up in arbitration case? The answer, yes.
Yeah.
Do players like it? Do players like selling themselves on this sort of stuff? Yes. Does it mean that you can't win a Cy? No, because we've seen players rewarded and win Cy Young awards, even when other players have had better looking win-loss records. But to say that it doesn't matter at all, I think is just something that is outside noise, not necessarily representative of the way people feel on the inside. Of course, guys want to win games, because it means you've won games. It means that your team has won games and that you were instrumental in your team winning games, even if it's mostly or generally and oftentimes considered a cosmetic part of the analysis of a particular player. Yeah, absolutely. I think they do.
Okay, good. I think they do too. I think it's one of those things where, like, if you have a good win-loss record, you lean on that. If you have a bad win-loss record, you lean on your ERA. If your ERA is bad and your win-loss record's bad, you start digging for more stats. So there was a shift in the lineup. Luis Arraez gets to the leadoff position. I want to talk about that in a second. Manny Machado hits second, which I don't think Manny wants to do. Jackson Merrill hits third, and Fernando Tatis Jr., who seemed like he really wanted to keep that leadoff spot, moves to fourth. Padres had 6 hits yesterday.
Tatis?
Did I not say Tatis?
Did you say? Yeah, maybe you did.
I thought it did. Even if I didn't. I meant Tatis. He hit fourth. He probably wants to lead off. Padres had 6 hits yesterday. Yeah. Luis Arraez had 3 of them. And Diaz had 2. And the last one was Bryce Johnson. Manny Machado, who, as I mentioned, I don't think wants to be a 2-hitter, 0 for 4. Jackson Merrill probably doesn't hate being a 3-hitter. He's moving his way up the lineup, 0 for 3. Fernando Tatis Jr., 0 for 3 with a walk and a strikeout. Same as Merrill, walk and a strikeout. Gavin Sheets is, 0 for 4. This lineup still just stinks. And it feels like they got a bunch of guys that want to lead off. And Luis Arraez got it and jumped at the opportunity. And not only did he get 3 hits, he had the only RBI, which was really funny because it was one of those situations where I think he had 2 or 3 guys on base. He gets a hit. Who scored the run? I feel like it was Bryce. No, it was Tyler Wade. Tyler Wade comes around, scores the run. And then the ball comes to home plate. And the catcher's just sitting there waiting. And Diaz, like 30 seconds later, comes running down the line to get tagged by the catcher. But this offense, I understand Mackenzie Gore's a good pitcher. I do. But they need more. They need more from these guys. And I understand they're just shifting around the lineup. And look, if Luis Arraez is going to get 3 hits every time he's in the leadoff spot, he gets to be the leadoff hitter. It's just the way that works. But the rest of the guys got to do better. Maybe they're tired. Maybe they need a day off.
They are tired. I saw Manny Machado said to Marty Caswell that he was exhausted.
Exhausted?
And I think those are the words that he used.
Well, it's
By the way, can I give Marty a quick shout out? Because
I
texted her yesterday because I knew they were doing post game and the game was ending and they had just made the announcements. And again, back to soccer. But I said, hey, can you just ask Manny real quick? I'll use it on the pregame show if he gives us anything interesting. And unfortunately, he did not. But thank you for Marty trying.
He had the scarf up. I saw the scarf.
It's the same scarf. I know. Manny said, I'm exhausted. The competition we played some really good teams. It was mentally draining as much as it was physically. And that's a Marty video that you can find on Marty Time TV about how the Padres navigated 26 games in 27 days, the halfway point, and being on the verge of 2,000 hits. All of that right there for you. Thank you, Marty.
Yeah, but, their Schilt is, to put it in Kevin Acey's words, Schilt is trying something, anything to get his offense going.
Right. Do you think he's put a lot of thought? Do you think there's been a lot of sleepless nights for Mike Schilt? Or do you think he just woke up and was like, fuck it?
I think it's a lot closer to the latter than the former. And, it's one of those situations where, like, I know, Craig Elson used to have this joke that the batting coach for the San Diego Padres was the Spinal Tap drummer, that they just keep firing him, but then they bring in a new guy and then that guy gets fired and then they bring in a new guy and that guy gets fired. But, like, I don't know why we're putting this on Mike Schilt and the lineup. I don't know why we're not talking about the approach and the offensive coordinator, whatever positions they have now. Like, they stink, man. And we know they're talented enough to hit and they're just not hitting. And it's summertime now. You don't really have the advantage of being like, it's going to warm up. Like, no, it's better in the 70s, man. So I don't know. But
I don't know either.
The Reds, I said yesterday that I thought the Reds stunk. The Reds are 42-39. They're in 4th place, but they're in 42-39, which means the NL Central is having one of those years that it's actually pretty good. Padres, by the way, beating the
That's not
Nationals.
entirely, that's a record that is closer to the Padres record than people might realize.
Right, and it's a game ahead of the Diamondbacks, who are like also in fourth place in the NL West. So they're a good team. I think they're a good team. I think they're going to challenge the Padres a little bit, who, by the way, are back in second place in the NL West. I'm assuming the Giants lost yesterday to make that happen. But I don't know, kind of a big series. Like, it's if they show up in Cincinnati and they get run and they can't hit, especially in that ballpark, I don't know.
Yeah, I hear you say it's kind of a big series, and I always have these Tim Flannery words in my head. Is it? Is it a big series?
Okay, but
I would say this in your defense, and in the defense of anybody who does want to label it as a big series, I would say this. The closer we get to the trade deadline, the more you probably are going to take a keener look at how much anybody's going to be willing to invest in this team. And I do think that there's some validity to that.
Yeah, I mean, if they show absolutely no ability to score runs in Cincinnati in that tiny ballpark. By the way, I don't know if you have a least favorite ballpark in baseball, but that's mine. Hate that ballpark. Hate watching games there.
Never been. Diamondbacks for me is the one that I hate. I hope a fucking satellite falls out of the sky and crushes it.
I've walked past that one a bunch, but I've never actually been inside. I don't know why. I don't know why everyone hates it, but that's fine.
Well,
hate it. Maybe
everybody hates it for a reason.
Yeah. But yeah, like, they're making decisions now. This is the whole like buy or sell. Like, they're making decisions now about if they're going to be a buyer or seller a month from now, which, by the way, I said that they don't really have much to sell. And you said like Suarez and Adam and, maybe Arise boosted his trade value with 3 hits yesterday. Adrian Morejon has been fantastic for like a month now. And he pitched 2 innings on Tuesday and then I think another inning yesterday. He's got like a 0 ERA in his last like 18 innings. He's barely letting people on base. He's I think AC had a thing today. He's averaging like 9.1 pitches per inning, which is like the lowest in baseball. He's just been dominant. He's been awesome. I know he's always kind of wanted to be more of a starter. Maybe they try and stretch him out. Maybe they're too afraid of his arm falling off again, but that's another guy that probably has some sort of trade value if they do, just tank in Cincinnati and AJ Preller is like, all right, we got to sell. Like, maybe you get something back from Morejon, but maybe not. Or maybe he's the new closer and he's why you're okay with moving away from Suarez.
Ooh, interesting. Interesting during the suspension. We just talked about it. Sometimes, in the absence of players, it is an opportunity for somebody to show it what it is that they have.
Wally Pitt.
Before we play everybody's favorite game, is John a Dallas Mavericks fan or not? I saw you on Discord say that you thought most baseball reporters were hacks other than Jeff Passan.
That's not what I said.
That feels like it's a little short-sighted.
That's not what I said. I said outside of Jeff Passan, which baseball reporters are not regarded as hacks? I didn't say I thought they were hacks, but it seems like everyone from someone was bashing John Heyman and calling him a hack. The Bob Nightingale thing, people always call Bob Nightingale a hack. It's like almost any, especially national baseball reporters, even Ken Rosenthal, the people saying, oh, he's a hack, he's in the tank for the Dodgers. Like, Passan is the only one who, like, baseball fans, at least in San Diego, don't immediately look at them and go, that guy's a hack. And that was my point. The guy's like, Heyman's a hack. I'm like, you can't call him a hack when they call everyone a hack. Not everyone is a freaking hack. Some of these guys are good. Actually, probably a lot of them are good.
I bet you Passan probably has the highest approval rating.
I think so.
Of the baseball writers. I think you're probably right about that. I think Heyman's reputation is that, he's in the tank with Boris. And Nightingale's reputation is that he is often wrong.
Often.
It's being a 300 hitter's good for a baseball player. It's not great for a baseball reporter. You want a little higher average than that. Who else is out there? Buster has a great bit where he literally has every fan from every team saying that you hate my team. Right. So that's a good bit that Buster has.
So
I think Buster's pretty good.
I think Buster's good.
I like Buster. I don't know that I love him on the broadcast, on the ESPN broadcast, but I do like him as a baseball resource. I think Kirkchin is really good. I think Kirkchin's not a hack. He gets really high ratings, I would think. I think locally Dennis Lin is I think people turned on Dennis because guilt by association, him and Ken Rosenthal, but I still think Dennis is really good.
Dennis is great. Dennis is fantastic.
And I think AC works really hard. He's a goofball. And I tell him that, and like I say that as somebody who's had a long relationship with Kevin, but I mean, and I disagree often with his conclusions. But I think he works hard, and I think what he provides is unlike anything else that anybody else is providing right now. So even if he's a total dork, I still think that there's a lot of value to what it is that he brings to the table. But is he a hack? I don't know that he's a hack.
No,
but I know the reputation is what it is. So
I think the local baseball writers are usually thought of in higher regard. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I didn't know people turned against Dennis. I think Dennis is great. And I think AC is great. I think AC has turned into exactly the same beat reporter with the Padres that he was with the Chargers, which is there's a guy up top that is going to feed him stuff, right. and he's going to write glowingly about that guy, but he's also going to be at every game, every clubhouse, and he's going to push and pull with the players and the coaches, and does anyone cover this team as a beat reporter better than Kevin Acee? No. I don't think so.
As a beat reporter, no.
Right.
I mean, and Dennis isn't on the beat anymore.
I know.
That's just not what Dennis is anymore. So it's not like he's in that category. It's not like I'm saying he's better than Dennis. Dennis isn't on the beat the way that Kevin's on the beat. Kevin is filing stories from a fucking goddamn airport. And you can tell because it looks like a text message sometimes because nobody edits this stuff.
Yeah.
But, that being said, I really don't, I think that the coverage is okay. I know that's what makes me laugh, when people carry on about Rosenthal. And I thought Rosenthal had a bad postseason last year. I thought that was pretty, Ken, you can't write that and then be on the sidelines for Fox.
Yeah.
You can't.
The Machado Roberts thing, right?
Yeah, but this whole idea that like, oh yeah, of course, that guy, he's got reporters in his pot. Like that doesn't happen around here. Okay, I don't. Yeah. I think a lot of managers probably have somebody in their back pocket. So I don't know that I think that that's as exclusive to the Dodgers. But anyway, is John a Mavericks fan or not after the NBA draft?
I'm closer to being a Mavericks fan than I was 2 days ago. I'll give you that. Cooper Flagg is a very enticing prospect. And, it's one of those things like when the Chargers, left for Los Angeles, I'm like, I'm going to watch some games and see how I feel. If it feels right, sure. If it doesn't feel right, if it feels icky, if I don't like it, we'll do something else. I don't know. Hey, did you see, I got
at least your team has a coach.
Yeah.
Although apparently my team wants that guy to be our coach.
The whole Mavericks assistant staff has left. All of them. There's
he's the only one that the Knicks have shown interest in who hasn't signed an extension.
And there was the
Knicks got everybody else an extension in this league, but Jason Kidd has said no.
I saw a story where Jason Kidd was, I think there was like a source close to Kidd who said he's still interested in seeing if the Knicks thing can work out, but the Mavericks don't really want to let him go. So I think there's some push and pull there. I don't know. He might end up the Knicks coach.
Okay. So you're no closer to being a fan or no further away from being a fan than you were 24 hours ago.
That's true. Now
the drafting of Flagg has done nothing to motivate you one direction or the other.
I knew it was coming. He seems like a good kid. He seems like he could be a really great basketball player. I mean, obviously, he's the number one pick in the draft. He's one of the most heralded prospects in years outside of Victor Wembanyama. So I'm sure I'm going to watch him in Summer League. I'm going to get all gassed up, and I'm going to be like, I'm in on the Mavericks, baby. It would be easier for me if Jason Kidd was the coach of the Knicks and not the Mavericks, if we're being honest. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. I did want to, I don't know if you dug through all the links in Front Row Seat this morning.
I have it open right in front of me.
I got a little tricked by this. I wanted to see if there was any updates, any movement on this NASCAR road race in San Diego. And I think it was CBS 8 had a quote from Escondido native Boris Said. Do you know who Boris Said is, Darren?
I do know that name. Escondido is just running all of the news stories right now. Was this interview at Tony Pepperoni's Pizzeria?
Probably. But they interviewed Boris Said on if he thinks NASCAR should come to San Diego.
He's a driver. He's a former driver, right?
Not only was Boris Said a driver, Boris Said for like most of his NASCAR career really only drove the road courses. Like the courses that went in circles, he would like skip those. But if a road course came around, he would drive it and he'd win like 80% of them. Like his start a race to win percentage has got to be higher than anyone because he used to just dominate these guys on road courses. And so I saw they had quotes from him and he was like, I think it would be great. And, you're bringing the sport to San Diego. You're bringing it to the fans instead of asking them to come to you, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, I might come out of retirement and drive this one. And I got excited. I was like, oh man, Boris Said's going to come out of retirement. and drive in this race. I forgot that when Boris Said was at his peak, he was like 47 years old. He's in his 60s now. Now I'm doubly rooting for him to come out of retirement and do this, but I think it was more of a joke than anything that I was a little bit fooled by.
Do you think that that's a totally different skill set, the guys that excel at road courses versus traditional oval tracks? Like, do you think those guys, do you think their upbringing was like a very, very, like you see a lot of these guys, right? Like Jimmy Johnson used to race around and do a lot of stuff around in East County, all that sort of stuff, used to run the minis, et cetera. So like, he kind of, he was raised into the sport of racing. But do you think the guys that excel at the road courses, like, do you think like, what would they be doing if they weren't drivers? Like, would they be Uber drivers? Like, would they be taxi drivers? Or like, were they just really like aggressive drivers on the freeways and stuff and knew how to get around San Diego? Or like, do you, or wherever they grew up? Or like, do you think it's just that like they're training or something with their vision? Like, I wonder what the difference is in terms of skill.
I don't know what it is. I've always wondered if it had anything to do with like the ambidextrousness of them, like going left and right. I think for most of his career, Jimmy Johnson like really wanted to win at a road course. And I think he eventually did. And he had like quotes afterwards. I was like, I just wanted to prove to myself that I'm a complete racer. Like it again, Boris Said, I don't think ever won an oval track, but put him on a road course and he was awesome.
Yeah.
And
like that's the guy I want picking me up from the airport.
Yeah, exactly. Boris Said's going to get you. Hey, I'll drive you from Escondido down to Imperial Beach in a lot faster than you got there. But,
right. My map says it's going to take me 40 minutes. Boris Said got me there in 25.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's definitely a different skill set. And I like watching these guys play, not play, but drive a different course that requires different things and different skills. And, the thing about driving the oval is like a lot of these places are kind of similar. Like they have different angles to the course when they're in an oval, but you're still just making a bunch of left turns, right? But the road courses take a lot more like foresight and vision, and you got to know the course like the back of your hand and when to brake and when to go. It's definitely a different skill set, and it's entertaining. And it's kind of like when you watch, I like watching St. Andrews for golf, because it's just like, that doesn't look like a golf course. And it doesn't really play like a golf course. It's just like something else entirely.
Yeah,
and
it's an old goat pasture.
Yeah, and taking like professional golf players and be like, here, try this now. Like you can see so many of their brains going like, this isn't what I normally do. This doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I think that's a great defense of the Monaco Grand Prix, is that, maybe it doesn't pack the drama that some of the other, Imola or whatever, some of the other tracks do, but, it still is, like, aesthetically as a viewer, it's fucking amazing. Like, it is a great, great television experience. And, we'll track down Sean Kelly at some point.
Yep.
John and I are going to give ourselves the weekend to watch this F1 movie, and if we don't do it, we're going to get a review next week one way or the other, but we at least said we'll see if we can figure out a way for one of us to try to get into a theater and watch it. I don't have high hopes for either one of us, to be honest, but
I want to see this movie.
Me too. And anything with Brad Pitt, how bad is it going to be? Is Brad Pitt capable of being in a bad movie?
I'm going to say no, but he probably has been, but I'm going to say no. Also, like, low-key, one of my favorite movies when I was young was like they had a Sylvester Stallone movie where he was an F1 driver and there was like a young kid coming for him and he was aging. And this seems like the same movie, just with Brad Pitt instead of Sly Stallone. And I love that movie. I thought that movie was very entertaining. So I'm looking forward to this one.
We'll give ourselves the weekend to watch it. So, hopefully others can go see it as well, because Sean has seen it and he's in Monaco. So, we'll talk to him a little bit about that. So we'll try to do that next week. All right. I got to go get my car serviced, and got a Thursday lined up for me. John, feel better? What's going on with you again? What's with this immune system here, pal?
Look, my kid, I got sick traveling, and when you're parent of a kid and the kid's environment changes, it's a whole new petri dish, and kids are just, my buddy I was complaining over text with earlier today, he's got 3 kids, I think, and he was like, kids are biological weapons, man. He's like, they show up and just ruin the whole atmosphere. And so, my kid's going to summer school now, new group of kids, new group of germs. It was bound to happen, but I'm going to try and take it easy for the next couple days, not driving down to Barrio, not going to Mason Ale Works tomorrow. Honestly, kind of missing it. I have an idea that I'm going to run past you of how we can make the Barrio Logan thing like really special next week, if we can pull it off. Or maybe the following week. But either way, I'm going to try and rest, see if I can be healthy enough to make it to the movie theater this weekend.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for subscribing to this podcast. Thank you for all of the banter back and forth on the Discord channel. Thank you for anybody who tuned into the broadcast. We had a fun one with Adrian Garcia Marquez last night. So we got a quick turnaround here for Dallas, 5:30 kick and 5 o'clock pregame show. So we'll have a podcast coming up on Friday about what? Who the hell knows? We'll figure it out. Padre off day today, and we'll have another podcast for you. Thank you. Appreciate all the support. Can't do it without you. Really, we truly do rely on you guys to make this what it is. And this is just the beginning, as we often say. Got to stop saying that, because at some point, it loses its effectiveness. Hey, this is just the beginning. We're just getting started. Yeah, you've been saying that for months. Okay. Anyhow, we'll see you on Friday. Thanks.